Liechtenstein have qualified for the World Cup. But before we head off to Japan, let's see what went down in the 2033-34 season for FC Vaduz. And make sure you stick around till the end of the video for a big announcement about the future of this series. After last season's Champions League quarter-final run, we find ourselves back in the Europa League this season, and facing the usual mix of some tough, but some beatable opponents. And we are 12 seasons in at this point, and I'm aiming to win the whole thing this time round, but that would mean adding some depth to the squad, starting with the early summer signing of Brazilian defender Augusto from Watford. He can play DM or central defence and still has room to improve. In terms of departures, there were the usual loan moves for our youngsters, including two of our best young goalkeeper prospects. We'll come back to them later. The Swiss season kicks off in July, and we started with a bang, as Fabio Burmester struck twice, and Cristiano showed no signs of slowing down at age 33 to put us 3 goals up by half-time against young boys, Pascal Olner putting the cherry on top in the second half. A great way to start the season, which we followed up with a win over Lausanne, including this goal from academy graduate Patrick Siebert, now 21 years old and looking to cement a first-team place this season. A 5-1 win over Ville followed and all looked good, but then we suffered a shock defeat at Sion, our first defeat in the league since April 2032. Well, as Alan Hansen used to say, the trick after losing an unbeaten run is to get a new one going the following week. Right, I guess it's time for some more transfers. Having already brought in a new centre-back, the left flank was my focus, as Yannick Goop had stalled in his development, and backup Schlosser had agreed a loan deal at Kreitz. I also felt Thomas Murrow would be more effective in midfield, as would Pascal Olner. So on deadline day we decided to ring the changes. Bradley Fink had been frustrated at being third in the striker pecking order behind Kraus and Regic, so we sold him to Antwerp. Likewise, Dennis Keigan was struggling for regular game time, more on why in a moment, so he departed for Young Boys. We then reinvested some of those funds to swoop for Lucas Ulrich, signed from St. Gallen. The experienced German strengthens us at left back and will hopefully mentor Goop and Schlosser as well. We also did a cross-border raid into Austria to sign Moises Farias from FC Blau-Weiß Linz. Not an out-and-out winger perhaps, but certainly a player who can contribute to attack by cutting inside from the flank. And they had the desired impact as we went unbeaten through September and October. And in addition to those new faces, we also had a couple of academy prospects making their way into the first team. Having spent a successful season on loan at Winterthur last season, Uwe Wolf is finally making a mark in the first team squad as an attacking midfield force, and is the main reason we felt comfortable in letting Dennis Keigan go and meet the new Andreas Corner, Martin Rinner, who has made the right back spot his own at just 18 years old. To the Europa League now, and we did not get off to a great start as we were soundly beaten at home by Arsenal. A hard-fought comeback win over Dinamo Zagreb followed, before a comfortable 5-0 win over Zelina, Uwe Wolf showing why he's rated so highly, with a pair of fine goals in this one. A late own goal was needed to get us a point at Hamburg. We then found ourselves back in France and behind to Nice, but in the second half, new signing Moises Farias stepped up with his first goals for the club to help us get all 3 points. We probably should have won by more. We then turned on the style when we travelled to Eindhoven to take on PSV. Uwe Wolf and Tony Block set us on our way. Then Wolf added another, with Fabio Burmester wrapping things up late on. Another big European win, putting us in contention for a top 8 spot. Meanwhile in the league, we closed out the calendar year without any further defeats. Regic turning on the style to put us top at Christmas, but with young boys Basel and Luzern not far behind. Swiss Super League awards are handed out at the end of the year, and Burmester was named Player of the Year. Ah, stop it, you're making me blush. Alas, after the winter break, we were left feeling embarrassed for the wrong reasons as we won 1 of 5 games in January and February. Meanwhile, young boys were on a tear, winning 10 in a row, thereby topping the end of the regular season standings. They must have some new talismanic attacking midfield talent pulling all the strings. Oh yeah. In the Europa League, we finished the league phase with 2 easy wins, which was enough to get us into 6th place and directly into the round of 16, where we would face Sporting. Our trip to Lisbon did not get off to a great start, a goal down after 10 minutes, and after a shocking defensive error by Ishuk, 2 down by half-time. In the second half it got even worse as we fell 3 goals behind. but that finally spurred us into life as Lorenz Krauss pulled one back, and then Moises Farias grabbed another, meaning that although we lost on the night, we still had a chance going into the home leg. Or did we, as we soon discovered we were facing an unprecedented medical crisis. First, the news on the eve of the second leg that goalkeeper Chris Brady had flu and was out for almost 2 weeks. Look further down the list of players currently out and you see Jonathan Hamann also with flu, and our backup goalkeeper. Now remember those loans I mentioned at the start of the episode? Yep, they were our other 2 goalkeepers. Nicholas Hens had been sent to Paderborn in Germany and was having a great season, but I foolishly had not put a recall clause in his loan agreement. So that left me with 2 options. Option A is Stefan Hein, on loan at Challenge League side Xamax, and with a recall clause. But look at his stats, 50 goals conceded in just 26 matches. Option B is Marius Drevenstedt, our under-18 goalkeeper. We went with option A, and Lorenz Krauss soon had us forgetting about our goalkeeping woes as he scored inside 10 minutes, tying the aggregate scores. Even better when Patrick Seibert gave us the lead before half-time and we were cruising. But the tie was not over by a long shot as Sporting pulled one back, which forced the game into extra time, and we thought we had it won when Uwe Wolf scored. But then Stefan Hein maintained his 2 goals a game conceded average as Ali Akman added to his tally from the first leg to send us to penalties. The first kicks for both teams went in, and then our recalled keeper Hein pulled off a great save. But our advantage was immediately squandered by Wolf. The subsequent spot kicks were spot on, with Axel Blinden, Jordan Keeling and Stefan Hartmann all scoring for Vaduz, while their Sporting counterparts did the same. Into sudden death then, and the pressure was on. Lucas Ulrich was more than equal to it, but our opponents were not. Leaving Pascal Olner with a chance to seal it, he did, and we just about make it into the quarter-finals, where we have to face Arsenal again. A reminder that the Gunners have already beaten us quite soundly this season, and a reminder that it was time for our annual spring fixture pile-up, as we would play 4 games in the space of a week. At least one of them was the Liechtensteiner Cup semi-final, and a quick spoiler, on that particular competition, we will not face FC Vaduz 2 this year in the final, because we had already beaten them in an earlier round. Will we defy the odds to win a record 60th Liechtensteiner Cup title? Find out later in the episode, and don't forget to hang around for that special announcement as well. At home to Arsenal, Krauss continued his fine run of recent form, opening the scoring on 12 minutes, and doubling the lead just after the half-hour mark as memories of that 3-1 defeat faded away. Flying high, we kept going in the second half with this effort from Uwe Wolf, defender Stefan Hartmann adding another less than a minute later, as we got the win when it mattered. At the Emirates, we were doing a good job of keeping things quiet until Jordan Keeling got himself sent off, that is. Ryan Gravenberg would then score for Arsenal, but that was the only goal as we held on to reach the semi-finals for a second time. With the draw pitting us against Rapid Vienna? I mean, could we? No, I'm not going to say anything to jinx it. Back in the league, we were unbeaten so far in the championship group stage, including a 5-0 mauling of Grasshoppers just 48 hours after our first leg win over Arsenal. Despite our unbeaten run, back-to-back 1-1 draws with Basel left us 5 points behind Young Boys with only 2 to play. And we were facing a second fixture pile-up, as we would have to play our final 2 games of the league season in the gap between the 2 legs of our Europa League semi-final. We would also have to manage without Fabio Burmester, who had been injured in the second leg against Arsenal, and Jordan Keeling, who was of course suspended. Let's start with that Europa League semi-final and a fantastic strike from right-back Rinner after just 88 seconds. New signings Augusto and Ulrich then combined to set up Cristiano, and that was enough for a huge away win. A first European final in touching distance, so I had to rest players and rotate for the next 2 league games. And we paid the price, losing 2-1 to Young Boys, thus handing them first place. And just 2 days later, going down 3-1 to Zurich, meaning a 3rd place finish. But at least that meant Young Boys and Basel would have to actually go to the Champions playoff for once. Was it worth sacrificing the league for a potential Europa League final spot? Well, yes, of course it was, as we technically speaking can't win the league. Anyway, especially when a homegrown talent such as Lorenz Krauss scores a hat-trick to get you there with another homegrown defender nodding one in as well. So satisfying that you barely even register the other team getting a goal. We are in the Europa League final, but first news of a final on a much smaller scale, as we had barged our way past Treisen to face Balzers for the Liechtensteiner Cup. Farias opened the scoring with Olner and Lorenz Krauss putting us way in front by half-time. Farias even finding time to add another right at the end of the half. Young right-back Moritz Schäfer added another before Rajic made it 6, as we lifted a 12th Liechtensteiner Cup under my management and a 60th in the club's history. But can we now lift a European trophy for the first time in Vaduz's history? The stage was set for us to find out as we took to the Juventus Stadium to take on Hamburg. We had of course already played each other in the league phase with honours even. Jordan Keeling was available again after suspension and would start with Fabio Burmester still not fully fit. We also went with Augusto, Siebert and Olner in the middle of the park, with Cristiano and Uwe Wolf starting on the bench. And the decision to start with Keeling was immediately justified in the first attack of the game as we built from the back. Farias exchanged a 1-2 with Olner, and Siebert played in the English winger, a dream start. One that even a VAR offside check could not destroy. On 22 minutes, a corner, and so close as Krauss headed against the post, and we couldn't quite follow it up as Farias shot wide. That took us up to half-time, just 45 minutes between us and European glory. Early in the second half, Hamburg were going all out for the equaliser, going close off a corner, and then a free kick. Our opponents were clearly relying on set pieces, and it was a corner that would eventually lead to the equaliser, Ede getting on the score sheet. With Krauss tiring, we brought on Rajic, hoping he could make a difference without getting injured. We also brought on Wolf, with Farias coming off and Olner moving out wide. In typical FM style, no further highlights followed those changes, and the final went to extra time. Hamburg, having more experience than us at this level, settled into extra time with confidence, and in the first period cut their way through our defence, Fairman applying the finish. Immediately afterwards we brought on Muro for Olner and decided to gamble with a half-fit Fabio Burmester. But soon found ourselves needing a miracle as we failed to deal with a low cross, and Nicolas Conti gave Hamburg a 3-1 lead. Wait though, no need to throw in the towel just yet, as we immediately responded, looking to get a goal back and sending the ball towards Patrick Siebert, who was tripped. And yes, it was inside the area. Penalty. Rajic stepped up and confidently tucked it away. We made our final substitution as Cristiano came on, and we reconfigured our formation to go more attacking in the final few minutes of extra time, and then watched the timer whiz by with no further highlights. That was it. No last gasp equaliser or late drama of any kind, as we had to watch Hamburg take the stage and receive the Europa League trophy. So, not to be ultimately, but there was some recognition of our achievements. FC Vaduz were labelled competition overachievers, and Lorenz Krauss won the Golden Boot with 11 strikes in the competition, just sadly not one in the final. So now for that announcement. In 12 seasons we've taken FC Vaduz from the Challenge League to the top of Swiss football. Well, not this season, but that was due to our European run. 12 Liechtensteiner Cups, a European final, a financially successful club with top-notch facilities, and even a stadium expansion in the works. And I feel at this point I've taken FC Vaduz as far as I can. So after this episode, we have the World Cup with Liechtenstein, of course, but don't worry, this is not quite the end of the series. It will, however, be the end of the road for me at FC Vaduz. The club is now churning out world-class regens on a season-by-season basis, so I will focus solely on the national team from now on, with the confidence that our current crop of youngsters will continue to develop, and perhaps some more will come through the FC Vaduz ranks. And that will allow me to move this save on more quickly. This is, after all, a converted FM23 save, and if we keep going at the rate I've been going at, it's going to become a converted FM25 save as well. So check back here for the further international adventures of Liechtenstein, and follow for more FM24 content soon.